I thank Adam for his speech and now look to Professor Peter Atkins to continue the case for the proposition.
Madam President, there are just two words that I want you to ring in your ears this evening. One is superstition, and the other is control. By superstition, I mean beliefs in which there is no evidence, perhaps even evidence against. Superstition is the soul of religion. There are some who say that religious faith goes beyond superstition. Indeed, it does, but only in the sense that religious faith is institutionalized superstition. If you want government based on belief in black cats, resurrections, lives after death, and midnight rites, then by all means vote against the motion. But if you want rational, superstition-free government based on matters that can be discussed in secular and therefore testable terms, in due course, I invite you to support the motion. Of course, parliaments can't be freed from privately held superstitions, for all the members of any community will have privately held beliefs. And in this country, with a lower house, and it is very low in my view, of 650, and a bloated upper house of 800, it's inevitable that there will be a spectrum of faiths. Although I must confess that I scorn the feeble-mindedness of those who cling to religious belief, we have to accept that our legislature and executive mirror society, and that to some extent patterns of voting and the propagation of laws will reflect those private prejudices. What we're arguing tonight, though, is whether the state itself should be a sponsor of superstition, and whether superstition should be formally welded into the fabric of society. Religious belief demands religious privilege. There should be no such privilege for those who base their lives on superstitions. If superstition is the fuel of religion, the engine is control. Religion's core aim is to control, specifically to control the inner workings of people's minds. So if you believe that the task of government is not only to protect the people and provide a social infrastructure, but also to control individual attitudes and private behavior, then you should certainly admit religion into the public sphere. If you do not want intervention into private behavior, then there is no place for religion in government. Religion worms, and I use the term advisedly, religion worms its way into people's heads by offering false promises of bliss and in the hereafter, and thereby seeks to thwart their secular aspirations. But as people see through its claims, as increasing numbers actually do, so they increasingly resent how it intrudes into law and becomes embedded into the structure of government. Thus, the religious claim the sanctity of human life, it being God's gift. Then build on that foundation a denial of the right to abortion and the continuation of hopeless, painful illness. Likewise, the religious claim that they are the way, the truth, and the light. Then build on that self-arrogation of hubris, the propagation of their particular brand of superstition in the socially divisive foundation of faith schools. Religion should be eliminated forthwith from government and outlawed in education. There are those, and there will surely be here tonight, who will claim that religion provides a moral compass to guide governments through the turbulent seas of national and international polity. You should ask yourself, though, whether the compass needle always points in the best direction. Perhaps the apotheosis of religious infestation of government was ISIS, the Middle East's ISIS, not Oxford's ISIS. There, the religious compass pointed to the moral appropriateness of beheadings, gross misogyny, defenestration of homosexuals, and mutilation of the generally non-conforming. Superstition and the desire to control in this country has not led to such brutality, such inhumanity to humanity, but lesser forms of control lurk in our Constitution. Look at the role of religion in Israel, where its very being is the presumption that God promised it its land. Look at the Taliban in Afghanistan to see what religion let loose on government can achieve in terms of misogyny and despair. Look even at that Western effective theocracy, the United States of America, and see what the Republicans can achieve in the way of inequality and intrusion into the privacy of the human skull. Look at the exuberant and almost tangible sense of escape in Ireland, when power dripped in torrents from the priesthood as the hypocrisy that is so often a companion of power was revealed. Look at the remnants of the power in Northern Ireland, where religion's obsession with control and intrusion into individual lives still plays its role in the diminishing of happiness and personal freedom. I ask you, given these examples, can you honestly see that you want religion to play a role in public life? It's inevitable in this debate, for it is part of its inspiration, that we refer to the disestablishment of the church. Although I have been arguing about religion on a wider platform, it's on a smaller scale that we might succeed to rid government from manipulation by superstition. As is well known, apart from the holy peculiar of the Vatican, the Parliament of the United Kingdom is in the company only of Iran, being the only governing institution in the world to set aside places for the chief propagators of superstition. In our case, the 26 Lords Spiritual. But here I am cautious, I must admit. I certainly think that the bishops should not sit in government over us. But in these wokish times, I'm worried by the prospect of their places being distributed over all the other faiths, all the other superstitions. Let's get rid of the bishops, certainly, but don't replace them by druids. Let me return for a moment to the moral compass. I think it an impertinence for the superstitious to claim greater moral responsibility for those free of religion. Only they claim, with their special brand of moral arrogance, hubris, can distinguish right from wrong and guide the ship of state through the minefield of decisions. Remove God from government, they will say, and you have a moral cesspit. You have Hitler and you have Stalin. Hitler and Stalin are indeed warnings to us all, but to ascribe their actions as due to their purported atheism is to misrepresent the consequences of the acquisition of unlimited power. Beware all absolute power, both God-soaked and God-free. The role of religion is to quench aspirations in this life, to ensure a greater, more blissful reward in the non-existent next life. It's morally contemptible to quench aspiration in this our only life, and a helpful lie helpful to those in control, that there is belief in an afterlife for the reward to be reaped. Surely, no one here wants their aspirations quenched by allowing religion to influence our laws. I end where I began, with superstition. The engine room of the opposition to abortion, euthanasia, and same-sex marriage is the superstition revered by the religious institutions of the land. Such opposition is increasingly scorned by the great and increasing majority in the country. Vote for this motion if you want to render government free of embedded superstition and the privileges that it inspires. There is indeed no place for religion in public life.